evening, folks. This is Deb Delapiano, and this is your Chain Reaction Report. You know, as I posted to you today from work, I posted that we really needed to talk, right? We need a little chat tonight. So let me start out with a big mea culpa, okay? So first of all, I want to say that at the beginning of all of this stuff, I fell into a trap with some people where I really trusted them and I believed their information, and I let my guard down about vetting that information and vetting my sources. And that was a big disappointment to me. I was disappointed in myself, not in them, but in me, because I came from a journalist background and I should know better. Okay, so every time we make a video, what we hear from people is, oh, you're just, parroting the mainstream media narrative, because everybody's got this thing in their head that the mainstream media is just doing nothing but lying. But mainstream media, I mean print media. I'm not talking about television, okay? And I'm not talking about YouTube, okay? I'm talking about legitimate print media. The Washington Post, the New York Times, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Times, the Seattle Times, the Boston Globe, the Guardian, mainstream media. Now, is it true that mainstream media is corporate owned? Yes, it is. But you know what? It used to be family owned. The Washington Post, when it broke the Watergate story, was owned by the Graham family, a very wealthy family. The Hearst family used to own the Herald, I believe, in California. So let me just tell you the difference between the media you're listening to and the media we're listening to. The reality is that every paper maybe has its spin, okay? You know when a paper leans to the right, and you know when a paper leans to the left. And you might not like the spin it puts on things, but generally speaking, it's telling you what's actually going on. It isn't making shit up. For the record, the people making shit up or making very tenuous connections, alleging that they are facts and evidence, are things like the Last American Vagabond, James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. There's nothing Project Veritas about what that guy does. He makes shit up. Fox News makes shit up. The man who started Fox, Roger Ailes, said he did not care about the truth. He cared about ratings. But people like the Washington Post, news media outlets like the Washington Post and Reuters and AP, they actually have basic tenets of journalism that need to be followed. So, for example, when they were doing All the President's Men, when they were trying to break the Watergate story, their legal department wouldn't allow them to publish anything unless they had 3 levels of corroboration. So if they were going to say that Richard Nixon did such and such a thing, they would have to have 3 levels of corroboration all lined up just in case they were challenged. Newspapers, legitimate newspapers, not only have managing editors who watch what you write, but they have legal departments. And there are meetings every day in those outlets, and they decide where these pieces are going to appear in the newspaper. And if they don't feel as though they have enough information so that if they are challenged, that they don't feel like they have enough corroboration to back up a story, that story will not be run. This is the way legitimate news sources work. Now, I don't know where you got the idea that they're just making shit up, but they're not. Those are not the news sources making shit up. The Last American Vagabond is making shit up. Substack is not a journalistic enterprise. There are real journalists who are on Substack. Judd Legum is one guy. He's a legitimate news source. He's on Substack. But Substack is not a journalistic news source because the owner of Substack has already stated he doesn't care whether or not they print the truth there. It's about free speech. But you see, the thing is, lies aren't free speech. False information is not free speech. Medical misinformation is not free speech. And hate speech is not free speech. Now, why did they get away with that? Because on social media, you can do just about anything you want. Anything you want. You can make up any kind of shit anytime you want and post it, and you're not going to feel any pain from that. Social media, in short, is a shithole. It has become a shithole. And when I'm done with what I'm doing here, I will turn my back on social media and you will never see me again anywhere on social media. So let's talk a little bit about the current narrative. This is the narrative. The government's always wrong and bad, and the people are always good and are never to blame for anything. Did you ever notice that? Well, nothing could be further from the truth, okay? So, why don't we back direct democracy anymore? Well, I think it took one gander at the pandemic to make us stop that nonsense. And I'm not going to take much time on that tonight because on Sunday night stream, we're going to be talking about that. Dave and I have been working on that for next Sunday. We're going to talk about that to kick off the new year. But I just want to say this. Times like this with the pandemic, it either brings out the best and the worst in people. I've seen a few really good things, but mostly what I've seen from the population is I've decided these are not the people I want in charge of me. I've decided that I can't break bread with many of these people. January 6th just about did it for me. I will not break bread with the right wing. I'm sorry, folks, but in order for it to work, right, America has to stop with that rugged individualism. My rights matter, paramount to all. It's all about me. That's not the way this is going to work. You actually have to have a sense of community. In America, we don't teach community. We teach rugged individualism and I, me, mine. That's how we teach here. Okay? We're not about community in this country, no matter what you think, no matter what your little fantasies are. And the notion that people are always nice is a lie. So I got some personal stuff that'll I can talk about too. But let's talk about a few things here, okay? I made some notes. The notion that, if we just get rid of the government, all the people will just fall in line. There won't be any crime. There won't be any gang warfare. The rapists will all become good. There won't be any bank robbers. And no one will try to invade us. And if you believe all that, you're a bona fide idiot. Okay? So let's talk. The government can't police itself. The people can't police themselves either. Okay? When I read about doctors and nurses in Michigan hospitals being spat upon for trying to do their jobs, when I read about people on airplanes punching flight attendants because they're asked to wear a mask, spitting on people, pushing people, talking trash to people. I'm sorry, people aren't basically good, okay? Quite the opposite. We heard for months about child sex trafficking. It's all the Democrats and it's all the Hollywood people. We went over this the other night. This was the topic the other night. You worried about child sex trafficking? Good. It's something you should worry about. It does happen. But not in the numbers that the QAnon people are telling you. Actually, most children are trafficked for labor, not sex. There's a lot of child labor that goes on. And a lot of the people being trafficked are not in this country. They're being taken from other countries. Okay? 91% of children in this country that suffer from child abuse, 91% are being abused by either one or both parents. Not just outside people. Not people coming into their homes and beating their kids up and leaving. By parents. But in the state of Texas, Governor Abbott doesn't want children to learn how to protect themselves or how to identify abuse. Parents have to opt in Texas. So let's do some logical thinking. I know this is hard for a lot of you. If 91% of abuse comes from one or both parents, how many parents do you think are going to opt in that are abusing their children? I say it's a fair bet that most of them aren't. You think people who are mass shooters are just going to go away? Or do you really believe the government's doing all the mass shooting? People, you got to wake up here. You know, we've had 44,343 gun deaths in America this year alone from mass shooting. Mass shooting is defined as 4 or more dead, not the perpetrator. 44,343 in the United States this year. That also makes a lie of they're coming for your guns. They're not coming for your guns fast enough. Cancel culture. You know what cancel culture is? It's another right-wing talking point. It's another right-wing talking point so that no one is ever held accountable for sexually harassing women. Louis C.K. makes a mockery out of cancel culture. He's out there raking in the dough now, making jokes about what he does. And people are laughing and paying him money. So if you're doing that, and you're a woman, or even if you're a man, and you're paying to see him, you're not a nice person either, because he's not a nice person, and he's not funny. And Dave Chappelle isn't funny. He's a bigot. Who is he to talk about being a TERF? He's a fucking guy. He can mind his own fucking business. He does not speak for me as a woman. People are basically nice. That's why they want you to keep your baby. No more abortion. Because people are basically nice. Really? Well, you know what? When it comes to men in this country, men get off scot-free. I know this from personal experience. And I'm not going to say who it is. But somebody in my family got pregnant. I didn't see her boyfriend stepping up and helping out. In fact, I had him call me and ask me when the abortion was so he could put his mind at ease. People are basically nice. And they care so much about each other. Don't make me laugh. Okay? Don't make me laugh. As far as I'm concerned, the government can tell you that you can't have an abortion as soon as all men are held responsible for the lives they helped to create. Either financially or physically. One or the other. People are basically nice. Really? So let me give you another example of how people are basically not nice. How people just have to talk because it's their free speech zone. Even if they know nothing about the facts, nothing about the situation, and nothing about the event, or nothing about the evidence. There's a movie that's streaming right now called American Murder, The Family Next Door. It's a story about a guy who strangles his wife and smothers his 3 and 4-year-old daughters. And by the way, the wife he strangles is 15 weeks pregnant with his first son. But why did he do it? He did it because he met a new little chicken at his job. Somebody he really wanted to be with. God only knows why he couldn't just divorce his wife and kids. But he chose to kill them instead. So what do we see from social media? Because it shows all of the social media posts from people. And basically, the line was, she drove him to that. She was a bitch. Because she was a loud and strong personality. And I'm not saying loud in an offensive way. She wasn't. She was a strong personality, and he was more laid back and relaxed. So I guess now, being a stronger personality gives your husband the right to annihilate your family. And if she was the problem, why kill your kids? She drove him to it? This is what they were saying. Did you ever think for 5 fucking minutes? This was a woman who was murdered, who was showing videos of her kids. She was definitely a social media hound. No question about it. She loved posting pictures about her kids, showed her kids playing with her husband, showed them making cookies. She was like a lot of people on social media. Did you ever think for 5 minutes your commentary? Did you ever think how it made her family feel? Her family who found her body in a shallow grave, and the way he threw her in there, she partially gave birth in death. Did you ever think about their 2 granddaughters inside the oil tanks he put them in after he smothered them? He worked in an oil field. He brought the bodies to work with him. Did you ever think about that? What the shit that comes out of your mouth, the effect it has on other people? Or do you not care because it's your free speech right? People are basically nice my ass. Let me give you a personal example. My ex didn't like the fact that I left her. She made stories up about me on social media. I have people doxing me, posting my address. You think that's okay? I don't think that's okay. I may have gotten mad at people in my lifetime. I have never done anything like that to anybody. I would never put anybody in danger like that. That's not okay. So don't tell me about how the government's always wrong and the people are always right and they're always innocent. You know what? I'm tired of hearing all this narrative. I'm sorry if we're not going to continue to parrot the narrative that you want to hear. I'm sorry if we don't put our faith in Candace Owens. I'm sorry if we don't put our faith in Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I'm sorry if we don't put our faith in Andrew Wakefield. I'm sorry if we don't put our faith in the social media medical school graduates. We don't. We have idiots now running for fucking governor and senator. Dr. Oz, the pseudoscientist who promotes more bogus diet plans and more freaking supplement bullshit. He's going to run for Senate because the doors have been opened. We are in a world of trouble here, folks. And you know what? Unfortunately, the situation we're in is this. You might not like the government, and I might not like everything the government does, but I am certainly not willing to take my chances with the American people. I know exactly what the right wing is all about. I already know them, okay? My big fear is that the people on the other side don't have what it takes to stand up to them. I don't want to be involved in that bullshit. I believe if you live in this country, doesn't matter if you're trans, doesn't matter if you're black, doesn't matter if you're brown, doesn't matter if you're yellow, doesn't matter if you're green, doesn't matter if you're pink, doesn't matter if you're a blue man group, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, by choice or by birth, you all get the same rights. You all live here, you all work here, you all pay your taxes here, except the corporations. and you all should have the same rights. But until I can find people to agree to that, I am unwilling to send this country into sheer and utter chaos. This country would be in sheer and utter chaos and civil war if the government were to go away. So when I hear people say to me, how about fuck Biden and fuck Trump and let's get some real people power? Yeah, right. Real people power. We got people who can't even vote. We can't even get people off the sofa long enough to vote. We can't get them to write letters. We can't get them to do anything. We want to give them real people power? And by the way, the person who made that suggestion doesn't even live in this country, so why don't you shut the fuck up while you're at it? You take care of your country. We have enough problems here. Some real people power. You got to be shitting me. You saw the real people power on January 6th. By the way, do you think those guys were nice guys? You think those were just peaceful patriots who showed up at the Capitol? Is that why they were beating the shit out of people with poles? Is that why we were walking around with zip ties looking to kidnap people? Because they were just such nice people, just patriots who kind of fell into it. And here's the last thing I'm going to tell you. Democrats and Republicans, they're not one and the same. They're not even close. Now, I have my problems with all politicians. Mostly that they're too ensconced in the business world. And that is a systemic problem. And by the way, you can thank the Supreme Court for that. Okay? Because they're the people that decided that corporations were people. But we have two parties here. And one party, and you know who it is, spends all of its time in political capital filing legislation to take away people's rights. The Democrats, they don't do that. I defy any of you to show me any of that legislation that will prove that they do, but they don't. I have plenty of evidence that the right wing is trying to marginalize many people. They're trying to keep people of color from voting. The Koch brothers were behind all of the anti-COVID push. I'm going to put all of this stuff in and you can choose to read it or you don't have to. But like I said, it wouldn't be published if it wasn't factual. And all of their data can be traced. That's the difference between the mainstream media and people like the Last American Vagabond. So I'm going to close this out now because I'm pretty much done. I do have a list of other things that we need to talk about. I have a couple of shut the fuck ups on the list. Probably tomorrow. Or maybe the next day. I don't know. It depends on how tired I am tomorrow. It's truck day. I'm going to be gone all day, starting at 9 o'clock, all the way to 5. It'll depend on how tired I am tomorrow night. But right now, just let me say this. I'm not interested in building my brand. I'm not interested in building my group's brand. We changed the name of our group from Become Ungovernable to the Factivist Project because for better or for worse, and mostly for worse, the term Become Ungovernable will now forever be associated with the kind of street action we don't want to be associated with. And that would be the action of January 6th. That's not what we meant by becoming ungovernable. But be that as it may, we've been at that since 2015, and people are clearly not ready to do what it takes to change the system. So we're going to continue on our path of making you understand just what's good about the government, just what's bad about the government, and just what's good about people, and just what's bad about people. But it is not as simplistic as government bad, people good. I'll talk to you all later. Sorry, folks. I forgot something. Let's talk, all right, about one other thing. Let's talk about the narrative surrounding Kyle Rittenhouse. The people on the right want you to believe that Kyle Rittenhouse is an upstanding young man. He went and he protected those buildings. He helped the cops out. He was only defending himself. Now, I'm not going to deny that he was defending himself, and I'm not going to deny or blame the jury for what they did. Within the framework of everything that was presented, he was defending himself. The only problem is that he created the situation that he ended up running away from. And that's reality. And you know what? This is, again, a lesson to you in believing what you're seeing. Kyle Rittenhouse says he supports Black Lives Matter. Really? Is that why he shot 3 of their supporters? Is that why he was seen in a bar? Illegally, by the way, underage. But he was with an adult. And I'm guessing it might have been one of his parents. I don't really know. But again, I'm taking that as a guess. Drinking with the Proud Boys and singing their theme song? Is that why? Is that evidence that he supports Black Lives Matter? Because as far as I know, the Proud Boys do not support Black Lives Matter in any way, manner, shape, or form. So you can either believe what Kyle says, or you can believe what Kyle does. Kyle Rittenhouse does not want to get involved in politics. No, sir. That's why he went to Mar-a-Lago right after he was released from prison. And that's why he went to the most recent conservative conference with all of those right-wing fucking minions left in office by Donald Trump. You know, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wants to give Kyle Rittenhouse a Congressional Medal of Honor. Spare me. When people are telling you exactly what they are, that's exactly what they are. Now, he can't be tried again. It's called double jeopardy. But if you think Kyle Rittenhouse is a good guy, there's something fucking wrong with you. Because he is not a good guy. All right? He's a punk, is what he is. He's a punk who obtained a gun illegally, took it across state lines, shot and killed 2 people, shot a 3rd person, and then, on top of everything else, made it to another state before he was stopped. Now, we don't need vigilantes carrying guns to mete out justice in this country. So if you needed another reason why, I am absolutely not going to support direct democracy or self-governance, there's another one for you. I'll talk to you later.